This is an unboxing of the Nokia Lumia 820 on AT&T. Earlier this year I reviewed the Lumia 710 on T-Mobile. It was a great phone. This is more of a higher end, newer phone, kind of like the 900 but a little bit different. There is a little AT&T Nokia sort of information packet there. The phone itself is right there, very typical for AT&T packaging right there. Yeah, it's a pretty big phone right there, 4.3 inches. It's about the same size actually as the Galaxy Nexus, which is kind of interesting. But let's just pull that out, and you'll see that this one has NFC right there. That's a little NFC tag to kind of get you started with NFC. Pretty cool that they included that. Some information from Nokia on, I guess, their phones and kind of that kind of stuff. Then a little like warranty information, that kind of stuff. Then after that, there's a power cable that goes into the wall. The other end is just a standard USB cable for charging, syncing, that kind of stuff. And there's also a battery. But let's go ahead and take a look at the phone. On the back, there is this kind of complicated way of removing the battery cover to put in the battery. The battery cover is really, really tight on this phone, and it's kind of unlike many of the other phones. So it's really hard to get the battery cover off. It took me a few minutes to get that, but I ended up doing it. Right here, you can see that there is a battery. It just goes right in like that. And good thing is the battery goes on right a lot easier. And beneath the battery, there's also a spot for a micro SIM and a micro SD card slot. So let's go ahead and remove the little plastic cover on the back, which shows you where all the ports are. This phone, it is a Windows phone, and it's a Nokia phone, so it's going to be a little bit different from like an iPhone or really any other phone. Because on the side there's actually the volume up and down on the very top. The very middle is the power button, and then the very bottom is the camera. There's a USB port on the bottom, headphone port on the top, so pretty standard as far as that goes, but all the buttons are on the side, which is kind of interesting. So once I get this cover off of the front, I'll be able to turn on the phone to kind of give you a good kind of look at that. But while it boots up and everything like that, I always like to show the phone booting up because it gives you kind of a good idea of how fast it'll boot up at first boot. But it has a 4.3 inch display, and later in this video I showed it up right next to a Galaxy Nexus, and as I say, the phones are almost identical as far as size goes, even though the Galaxy Nexus has a 4.65 inch screen, which is significantly bigger. That's because the Galaxy Nexus has on-screen buttons. This has little capacitive buttons at the bottom, which are kind of nice, kind of bad. I'm kind of used to the on-screen buttons, so it felt kind of weird to use these capacitive buttons again. But the display, even though it's at a very kind of low resolution, if it's 800 by 480, it is a super AMOLED display with clear black, so it does look really good. As far as the phone kind of thing goes, I don't have a SIM in this right now because I didn't install one, but basically you go through the pretty typical setup stuff, and it'll soon ask me for like the time and date, which is, I assume if you bought this phone, put a SIM in it, it will automatically recognize that from your carrier. But I had to manually put all that in, so I just kind of skip through this part and then just continue on with setup. And after you finish entering all your values in and signing your Microsoft account, you will then have to wait a couple minutes for it to finish installing everything. And that actually does take a good amount of time, which is different from any Android phones. They don't take long to set up after you first boot it and enter in all your information. But here we go. This is the Windows Phone 8 user interface. It's a little bit different. You can see there are these tiles, and they can be either the large double tile, the more kind of medium normal size tile, and then the smaller kind of a fourth of a tile. And that's really, I like that whole idea there. More tiles. If you don't really like something or you don't really use something a lot, you can make it a tiny tile. If you want something like more significant, just make a bigger tile. But here's kind of the NFC sort of thing. I have a Galaxy Nexus to the side with my website on it. Let's go ahead and beam it over from the Galaxy Nexus to the Lumia 820. It's interesting because I'm not sure where the NFC beam point is on this phone yet, but there we go. Tap to beam. It's beaming, and I can click accept, and then it'll go up and load the Prime website, the prime.co, which you can go to. Actually, it'll load up on the Windows phone. So it's very, very neat there that NFC works on this phone. It works well, and I'm going to wrap this up with a few like a little slideshow across this phone, and I'll kind of give you my first impressions. So the phone is really, really fast. It's powered by a Snapdragon S4 processor from Qualcomm. It's a dual-core 1.5 GHz processor. It has a pretty good camera, an 8-megapixel sensor, and it has a front-facing camera too. The phone feels heavier than most other phones, including the Galaxy Nexus, even with the extended battery on the Galaxy Nexus. So it feels pretty heavy. but not in like a bad heavy. It feels really well balanced. It feels very solid. I really like that. And since the battery cover and everything is so tightly built, I imagine if I drop it, it'll be able to survive kind of, or at least not damage as much as like an Android phone would. The screen looks good. It's very solid, and the phone's very square. The textured back feels really nice. It reminds me of the Lumia 710 I reviewed a while back. Windows Phone 8 is very smooth, and this hardware on this phone is actually a lot, I guess, faster than the 710, even though that still felt smooth and everything. This feels like incredibly smooth and incredibly fast. Of course, I haven't used a ton of applications or games quite yet while doing that, and I'll talk about all that in my review. So just stay tuned for that, and you can check us out at theprime.co. That's our blog, and then you can also check out this channel, theprime.co. That's the name of this channel. I upload frequently, including reviews and unboxings like this, as well as tech updates on Saturdays, and then gaming kind of stuff, gaming videos, gameplay on Sundays, every Sunday. So stay tuned for all that, and that's about it.